This article is about the social protection system in France. For details about the institution dealing with the French public insurance system, see Social Security in France. Welfare in France includes all systems whose purpose is to protect people against the financial consequences of social risks. Social welfare refers to all the mechanisms of collective foresight, enabling individuals to cope with the financial consequences of social risks. These are situations that could jeopardize the economic security of the individual or his family, causing a decline in its resources or increase its expenditure. In France, the welfare system makes up for about €500 billion annually, or more than 30% of GDP. The origin of social protection in France dates back to medieval times, with fraternal benefit societies. In the second half of the 19th century, systems of social assistance developed gradually, often launched by employers marked by social Catholicism, then relayed by the first laws. In 1930, modern social insurance was created, offering employees protection against certain risks: accidents, sickness, disability, maternity, old age, death. During the Second World War, the National Council of Resistance designed the system of Social Security, now at the heart of social protection. It was created just after the liberation, by an order of 4 October 1945, followed by other texts. Gradually, protection has covered the entire population, while the benefits extend. When creating Social Security, France imitated more the Bismarckian system than the Beveridge one. Over the years, the solidarity has gradually developed in the French system, which the foundation remains the concept of insurance. However, the desire to establish a universal system has faced opposition. This explains why the French welfare system is plural, with a wide variety of actors. The most important is the general scheme for employees of industry, commerce and services. Overview. The French social protection system is gradually becoming universal, covering all individuals. At its origins, social protection has been built as a system of social insurance. Insurance was tied to the exercise of an occupation, and the benefits were provided in case of the risk of loss of income due to the forced inactivity. It only covered workers and their families. The right to social benefits depended on the payment of social security contributions, itself related to earnings. Non-employees, or individuals who have not contributed during their occupation, were entitled to welfare, reserved for cases of extreme distress. Since its creation on October 4, 1945, Social Security Administration has had the objective of gradually extending social protection to all residents of the territory. Each member of the national community has now the right to benefit a minimum standard of living, whether exercising a profession and regardless of the ability to contribute. Indeed, the 22nd of August 1946 law extended the family allowances to the entire population. The old age risk coverage has been almost universal since the establishment of minimum pension, guaranteeing everyone a minimum pension, regardless of contributions to the mandatory pension insurance scheme. Health insurance has become universal after the establishment of personal insurance in case of sickness, and especially since the universal health coverage, established in 1999, allowing everyone to access a minimum of care. In addition, the social minima benefits, ensuring a minimum income to a person in an insecure situation, offer anyone a minimum of resources to fight against the risk of social exclusion. Organization. The social protection is largely dependent on the state. The state is a key player in the field of social protection. It produces legal texts, oversees the various agencies, and partly finances social protection through taxes or subsidies. However, it plays a role more or less important in the various forms of social protection. Social protection is organized into 4 levels. Social Security. The Social Security Administration provides basic coverage of 4 kinds of risks: illness, maternity, disability, death, accidents, illnesses, old age, and family. Each of these four risks correspond to a branch. The system is divided in different schemes classifying people according to their professional activity. These four schemes are: General Scheme. It includes most employees, students, recipients of certain benefits and ordinary residents. Special Schemes. They cover employees who are not in the private sector. Agricultural Scheme. It assures the welfare of farmers and agricultural workers. Autonomous Scheme. They cover separate artisans, merchants, industrials and liberal professions for old age only. Social Security administrations, established by the state in 1945, are managed by the social partners. The resources of Social Security and expenses has been determined since 1996 by the laws of Social Security funding, voted annually by the Parliament. The funds are collected by the URSSAF. Complementary schemes. The complementary schemes provide additional coverage for risks already covered by Social Security. Some are mandatory and other optional. Social partners set only the amount of revenue and expenditure allocated to these schemes. However, there are mandatory schemes, and schemes who remain optional. UNEDIC. The UNEDIC administers the unemployment insurance system. Central government. The central government and the local administrations provide some assistance, mainly support to the poorest. Social assistance includes welfare benefits defined by law, and is therefore provided when conditions are met. They are provided and funded mainly by departments, but also by the central government. Allowances. Social benefits amount to 30% of gross domestic product and around 45% of household income. 3/4 of these benefits are paid by Social Security. The Social Welfare Report, published annually, distinguishes 5 categories of benefits for as many risks. The pension and survival risk. The most important, it represents 44% of benefits, due to the weight of pensions. The health risk. It includes illness, disability, occupational accidents and diseases. In 2006, it accounted for 35% of benefits. The maternity and family risk. It includes daily allowances, the allowance for young children, family allowances, aid for childcare and the bulk of housing assistance. It represents 9% of benefits. The employment risk. It consists of unemployment benefits, aid to reinsertion and professional rehabilitation, and early retirement, accounting for 7% of benefits. The risk of poverty and exclusion. It is taken in charge by 80% by the minimum income, and accounts for 2% of benefits. History. The 1789 The French Revolution replaced the solidarity performed in the home or business by a national solidarity based on assistance, made official in the Declaration of Human Rights. But the deficiencies of the assistance gave birth early in the 20th century to early attempts to create a social security system. During the industrialization revolution in the 19th century, some new forms of protection have been developed. The fraternal benefit societies, succeeding the corporations of the old regime, abolished in 1791, based on voluntary collective foresight and limited to some activities or some businesses. They were legally recognized in 1835, and obtained full freedom of establishment and encouragement of the state in 1898. There were also local welfare systems for poor individual or family. From the 1890s, the state imitated the measures developed by Otto von Bismarck in Germany. In 1893 was established free medical assistance. In 1904 the Department of Child Welfare was created, and in 1905 assistance to infirm and incurable old people. Mutual benefit societies based on volunteering and social assistance had benefited only a limited portion of the population. This is why early in the 20th century, there were attempts to implement the insurance of certain social risks. In 1898 was recognized the responsibility of the employer in case of accidents on the workplace, with the possibility to insure to cope with that risk. For old people, a law in 1910 established a compulsory insurance scheme for employees of trade and industry. Laws in 1928 and 1930 set up insurance for the risks of illness, maternity, invalidity, old age and death for employees, plus a special scheme for farmers. In 1932, a law provided families with allowances to cover expenses, financed by employer. On the eve of World War II, France has, officially, a comprehensive protection system but that fragile. In 1945, the objectives for the system of Social Security were the unification of the system, the generalization of the protection and the extension of the coverage of risks. Under the dual influence of Beveridge Report of 1942 and the Bismarckian roots, the 4th of October 1945 order provides a coordinated network of caisses replacing the multiple previous agencies. However, the unit was not achieved at that time. Agricultural occupations retained their specific institutions. Employees benefiting special arrangements refused to integrate into the general system, and retained their own system, declared transitional, but which is still lasting. These specific arrangements concern officials, sailors, railway workers, miners, among others. The 19th of October 1945 order built a system for illness, maternity, invalidity, old age, death. Recent evolution. In recent years, there were growing concerns about the rise in social exclusion among the population. According to a survey published by the CREDOC, a third of people between 25 and 59 had difficulty of insertion. On the 2nd of October 2007, the newly elected French President Nicolas Sarkozy announced the organization of a Grenelle insertion dedicated to the transformation of integration policies. Dedicated to return to work, the Grenelle insertion was concluded on the 27th of May 2008. It insisted on the need to reform the insertion system. The various measures that had implemented to fight social exclusion, in particular the income support allowance, the single-parent allowance and the allocation disabled adults, were criticized for favoring unemployment and working poverty, exclusion and precariousness. Indeed, the government claimed the gains from return to work, after a period of unemployment, were offset by the reduction of social benefits paid in the previous period. That led to threshold effects and to inactivity trap situations. The National Observatory of Poverty and Social Exclusion said that the number of excluded people was deteriorating, while the number of working poor was increasing. The Grenelle insertion was initiated on November 2007 to establish, for 6 months, negotiations and talks between social partners to rethink the whole system of insertion. Notably, it was decided that the income of active solidarity be implemented. The RSA is intended to offset the loss of certain social benefits when resuming employment and provides additional income to the working poor.